This meeting of the Huntsville City Council will please come to order. It's September 14th at 6 o'clock. We welcome all those who have joined us tonight, especially this wonderful choir standing before us tonight. The Aeolians are here not only to receive a resolution tonight honoring them, but also to perform for us tonight. They are going to open our meetings. Normally, traditionally, we open our meetings with prayer. They will be favoring us tonight with a song that is an invocation. And following that song, they will favor us with the national anthem. So would you please stand? At the conclusion of the national anthem, Mark Russell will offer lead us in the pledge.
Thy word Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Many thanks to the Aeolians. Let's give them another round of applause. You know, I led the choir at my church for 8 years, and I can tell you that that just gave me chills. What a wonderful spirit you have brought to this meeting. Thank you so much. And Councilman Russell, thank you for leading the pledge. I think all of us can tell you that we are very grateful to have you with us tonight. You have received the minutes of a regular meeting held August 24th, 2017. Are there any changes or additions to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, the missions will be accepted as received. We now will move to resolutions. The mayor has 2 resolutions tonight. Mayor Battle, we turn the time to you.
Thank you, Madam President. If you would come forward too as a choir leader, I think you need to be up here with us also. If many of you saw me, I was right there between the little gap there, and I was photobombing the best I could to show that this is the only opportunity I've ever had in my life to be in a choir. My wife won't even let me sing in the pew next to her. So sitting there and listening to Dr. Ferdinand and watching you as you directed them made me feel like I was part of the choir tonight. So thank you so much for letting me just have the opportunity to watch you. And we have Dr. Leslie Pollard here, who's the president of Oakwood University. And we also have Dr. Karen Ben Marshall here too, who is, please come up, who is part of this group. And y'all have just won a marvelous award. Choir of the World Kingdom Choir, or the chief choir of all places for all times. And we have always known that here in the city of Huntsville, but now it's just been made official. And I'd love for you to tell us about your competition and your winnings, please.
Oh, wow. Good evening to everyone. Good evening. This competition took place in Wales, and we were very fortunate to pass the audition round. And we got there early July and met choirs from all across the world. South Africa, help me here. Indonesia, from all across the world, and we were in 3 categories, 2 of which could get us to the final round. The first day we competed, we came 3rd in that category. Later that day, we won that category, the youth choir, and then the mixed choir competition, the one we really wanted to win badly, we came 2nd by 0.4 of a point. Which turned out to be a blessing in so many different ways. But in the final round, which was that Saturday evening, we sang our hearts out for our school and for Oakwood and our church, and we pulled it off. It was a surreal moment.
Let me say congratulations to you, congratulations to the full choir for being named the winning choir of the world at the International Choral Festival. And to each of you, congratulations. What a great feat for you. And that great feat reflects on Huntsville. Now we have a resolution here, and this resolution is signed by the council and the mayor, so they can't go back on their vote, but I think we have to have a vote right now, don't we?
Is there a
Madam
motion to
President?
approve? Motion from Mr. Kling,
Second.
second by Mr. Keith. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
The resolution is approved.
And this resolution here says a lot of things. It talks about the storied history of the Aeolians, about the history that they've been here. In fact, we have Judge Jessup here, who was an Aeolian back in his day, who follows them around. I saw him last Sunday following them around. He's a stalker. But it really is. It's a great thing to be able to talk about something that has so much heritage and so much has been part of the history of Oakwood, but also part of the history of Huntsville for years and years. At my first inauguration, the Aeolians came and sang, and it was one of the, it was a time that I will always cherish in my heart. And so I want to say to each of you, congratulations on your award. Your award is just a testament of something that we already knew. We already knew that you were world champions, and so we say thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And Dr. Pollard, I would be remiss if I didn't turn the microphone over to you to say something also in this.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Battle. And we at Oakwood University wish to express our appreciation to our City Council. We thank you for honoring and recognizing this wonderful group of young people who dedicate countless hours to excellence in their craft. And thank you for recognizing that, and we are honored to serve. We're glad to be here and call the city of Huntsville our home. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Congratulations.
Now, we also have a second resolution tonight, resolution endorsing the Alabama Bicentennial Commission's efforts commemorating the bicentennial of the state of Alabama. And we have Julian Butler and Sally Warden here. And Julian and Sally, would y'all please come forward? This is another resolution that has already been signed by council and signed by the mayor, so they can't go back on it, but they also have to pass it right now. Madam President?
Is there a motion to approve the resolution endorsing the Alabama Bicentennial Commission's efforts in commemorating the bicentennial of the state of Alabama?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Keith. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Right, a unanimous vote. That is to be commended. Julian, would you tell us about the bicentennial and things going on?
Just very briefly, first of all, Mayor, I want to thank you and John Hamilton and everybody. Your support is just invaluable to what we're doing. In 2019, Alabama will celebrate its 200th birthday, the bicentennial. Huntsville is ground center for that. The necessary element before Alabama could become a state was a constitutional convention. It was held across the block here in July of 1819. So we have now come 200 years. We hope to focus the eyes of Alabama and the world on Huntsville in July of 2019. We'll have two celebrations. One, that is when the Constitutional Convention met. Secondly, it's the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, so that you will have a lot going on. Tommy, we have just a few of the things. We will have a reenactment of the Constitutional Convention, and we think Alabama Public Television is going to film it and carry it. We have those who came to Huntsville by water came in on keel boats. We'll have a real keel boat at Ditto Landing that people can go ride on and see. We will mark the original streets in Huntsville, the original boundaries of downtown Huntsville. We will mark their 20 structures standing in Huntsville that were standing in 1819. So we have, and all of the arts groups, so many organizations are really getting involved. We think it will be something that everybody in Huntsville will be proud of. We hope we make it what you want it to be. And thank you for your support.
And Julian does the talking in this group because he's the chairman. Sally Warden does the work in this group. And Sally, has he missed anything?
No, I think he hit it pretty much all. Our goal is to make sure that everyone in Madison County, Huntsville and Madison County, knows that 2019 is Alabama's birthday, and we're going to have a big birthday party that entire year.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your, and here is your resolution. Thank you so much. And to the Aeolians, thank you very much for coming. If you have to study, this is a good time to escape.
Thank you. Thank you again for blessing us with your presence. 4B1A is a resolution recognizing the Mensa Kids Trek of North Alabama. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Kling, second from the chair. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Mr. Kling, would you like to make the presentation?
I would, Madam President, I appreciate that. First of all, I'd like to recognize a very good friend who I think all of us in the community have known and appreciate his service. Topper Bernie, former school board member who I worked with in District 4, and we're very glad to have you here. A few excerpts of the resolution, Madam President. Whereas the City Council and the Mayor of the City of Huntsville, Alabama wish to recognize the founding and support of Mensa Kids Track of North Alabama for the leadership and support of gifted individuals in our area. And whereas in August 1988, the LOCSEC of North Alabama Mensa was begun, and the first Mensa Kids Track North Alabama regional gathering was held at Madison Square Mall. The public was invited for the free event with the requirement that parents participate with their children. About 40 children and their parents participated in scientific bubble experiments, martial arts, and other activities for 2 hours. The theme was Lost in Space, with an emphasis on Star Trek references. It was suggested that the program be called Kids Trek, and the name has stayed throughout the years. And whereas each month, members of Mensa, teachers from various school systems, and volunteers from the community have worked to coordinate and present events covering a wide variety of hobbies, skills, and concepts. The cultural celebrations in Mensa Kids Track have included Native American celebrations and world culture celebrations. And whereas in May, June, July each summer, brain games are presented where participants develop logical thinking skills while building friendship with others and strengthening family bonds. Whereas other activities have included hands-on activities related to architectural and structural stability, in-depth information regarding Native Americans, creating writing skills, arts, and crafts. And whereas for nearly 30 years, Mensa Kids Track has provided extensive and diverse programs for the families of North Alabama and surrounding states. And whereas the belief that every individual is potentially gifted is vital to the Mensa Kids Track program. If each individual can discover his or her area of greatest interest, receive peer and adult support, and accept challenges in which these areas of interest can grow and be applied to real life, each individual can become gifted in those certain areas. If one improvement can be made, it is wished every individual would share his or her time, talents, expertise, resource, enthusiasm, and positive ethics with children and their families, as all of the volunteers have done throughout the years. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council and Mayor of the City of Huntsville, Alabama, that we wish to recognize and express appreciation to those volunteers who have given their time and effort in assisting individuals in achieving their highest capacity. We wish you continued success in all future endeavors, and this has been adopted and approved by the Mayor and the City Council on the 4th day of September 2017. And Mayor, if I can borrow the microphone. Okay, we will.
Would you like?
Of course,
would you
with
like
my
to
good
come forward?
friend Topper Bernie, I'm not sure he needs a microphone, but I'll go through this. Topper, I'll let you make the presentation, if you would.
Martha, on behalf of all the kids who've gone through the systems that you've done there at the library and other places, we wish to thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May I say something?
Absolutely.
Is Dr. Holly still in here? Did he step out? I believe in miracles. Miracles happen every day. If you open your eyes, your ears, your mind, you will see miracles occurring. Dr. Holly and the Oakwood University Choir were here tonight. On October 23rd will be our 30th annual chemistry night at Oakwood University Chemistry Lab. This is one of the most appropriate events to have them here on the night that Kids Trek is also being honored. With all of the people that, and about half of you, we have had millions of people participate in Kids Trek over the years. So with all of this group, stand up and represent them, please. David, all of you? Yes. This is just a small number of the people. In 2006, we did the World Gathering of Mensa, and we had people from all over the world contribute time, talents, expertise, and resources. So if you have anything that you want to do, that you love doing, and you want to share your gifts with other people, it's kidstrek.org. It's easy to contact me, and I will definitely take your offerings, your volunteering, to give your services to the community. Every child deserves a chance to learn further than they already are learning. Every single person deserves that, grown-ups and children. And I thank you so very much for doing this for all of us. And thank you, Topper and Sherry. So,
Congratulations. Item 4B1B will be postponed for presentation at the October 12th meeting at the request of Mr. Kling. 4B2, we have 4 resolutions for adoption only. 4B2A is a resolution honoring the Huntsville Alumni Chapter Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Inc., receiving Civic and Community Award. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Keith. Mr. Kling, would you like the second?
I'll be glad to.
All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 4B2B is a resolution honoring Torch Technologies receiving a corporate award.
Move to approve.
Motion from
Second.
Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Keith. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 4B2C is a resolution honoring Mrs. Dawn C. Stanley receiving the award Inspiring Young Minds to Succeed.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell,
Second.
second by Mr. Keith. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 4B2D is a resolution honoring Pastor O. Wendell Davis for receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Keith. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Keith, all 4 of these resolutions were yours. Do you have any comments on them?
It's just, as much as we've done today, another opportunity to just recognize the success in our community.
Thank you. Moving on to 4D, announcements. We have a number of them. Again, we welcome back Mr. Russell, and we're delighted to see him here. We excuse...
For the record, I never went anywhere.
Technically you did. And you came back. And that's why it's really cool. That's why we're glad to have you here. We do excuse Councilman Culver, who had another commitment. We also, for those of you who weren't here previously at 4 o'clock today, we held a special meeting in which we nominated judges to fill the 2 municipal judge vacancies that we have. And we extend our congratulations to Mr. Jeff Grimes and Mr. Lonzo Robinson, who were nominated for those positions. Their appointments will appear on the September 28th agenda for approval following negotiations with the city and final contracts. Because of that work, both Mr. Grimes and Mr. Robinson work with our legal department. So basically with those appointments, as our attorney has pointed out to me, we have gutted his department. So council members, we need to add to the agenda for consideration this evening advertising and filling 2 Attorney 3 positions. And that will become item AL on our agenda for this evening.
Madam President, I move to add those items to the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Kling. Are there any questions or comments with regard to this? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? The items will be added to the agenda for consideration at the appropriate time. And finally, we have a number of budget items that will be introduced this evening. We will have a very brief presentation at that point by the administration. The larger presentation on the budget will take place next Monday evening, September 18th at 5 o'clock in these chambers, where we will go through an extensive review of the budget and associated issues. So we hope that all of you would join us for that. That includes announcements. Are there any others? We have no business with outside legal representation. Moving on to item 6, public hearings. We have no public hearings to be held, but we do have a number to be set. 6B1 is a resolution to set a public hearing of an ordinance zoning 21.70 acres of newly annexed property lying on the west side of Balch Road and north of Bordeaux Lane to Residence 2A District. This was to be set for the October 26, 2017 regular council meeting.
I move to set the hearing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Keith. Any questions? with regard to this? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing is set. 6B2, resolution to set a public hearing of an ordinance zoning 15.47 acres of newly annexed property lying on the east side of Old Big Cove Road and north of Ridgepoint Drive to Residence 1A District. This is to be set for the October 26, 2017 regular council meeting.
I move to set the hearing.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by the chair. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? The hearing is set. 6B3, resolution to set a public hearing of an ordinance zoning 6.39 acres of newly annexed property lying on the north side of U.S. Highway 72 West and west of Providence Main Street to Highway Business C4 District set for the October 26th regular council meeting.
I move to set the hearing.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second by the chair. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
The motion carries. The hearing is set. This brings us to item 7, communications. 7A, communications from the public. We have several people who are signed up, and when your name is called, please come to the microphone, give us your name and your address for the record. The first to sign up is Jeffrey Crutcher. Subject is zoning issue, change of address. Mr. Crutcher, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My property is located at 3805 Pulaski Pike.
Oh, Mr. Crutcher, could you give your name and address, please, for the record?
Jeffrey Crutcher, I'm sorry. My name's Jeffrey Crutcher. First of all, good evening, Council.
Good
And Mayor,
evening.
to you, too. But my
And your address. Address.
3705 Pulaski Pike. My
We are grateful
address
to have-
was actually changed. I have an old zoning which gives me the right to operate a barbershop. So when I purchased the property, it was there, and then it was taken away from me. I was given a license to operate. I would like for that to be put back in place.
If I
Very
might
simple.
add, Mr. Crutcher, I believe that your matter is before the circuit court, is it not?
Well, the municipal court found me not guilty of operating a business without a license, which by the
Mr.
appellate
Crutcher,
rules, no judge can overturn that. So
Mr. Crutcher, that is not an accurate assessment of the facts. And it's my understanding that you have appealed the decision that you're aggrieved about to the circuit court clerks or to the circuit court of Madison County, and that it is pending there. Isn't that not correct?
This may not be the appropriate forum to address this. Mr. Crutcher, could we possibly have you meet with the city attorney to talk this through? Would that be acceptable? He can meet you right out there, and perhaps you all can work through the details here.
Madam President, if I may also add that I had a conversation with Jim, and I would also, if we do get a reference, ask him to sort of give the council a better understanding from, there is no, I don't think Michelle is here, but a better understanding from planning's perspective as well, if Jim could give that perspective, if we do have him come back. An administrative perspective as well, is what
Well,
I'm saying.
this is a time for citizen comments. We will have Mr. Crutcher meet with Mr. Riley, and then at an appropriate time, we can have a briefing with regard to
Yes,
that
ma'am.
matter. So if you'd like to step out, and we'll have Mr. Riley join you. The next person to sign up is Tom Devenish. Subject is Fountain Circle.
Hi, excuse me, Thomas H. Devenish, 2807 Castle Pine Circle. I wanted to talk to you about the Fountain Circle redevelopment project. I'm urging the Huntsville City Council to introduce a motion to cancel this LOI that's in place right now between Crunkleton and Triad Properties. I think that allowing this property that we're standing on, which I happen to have on this map, and you all are very much aware of.
Mr. Devenish, we talked about this earlier, that we'd like your comments, but we're not going to introduce visuals.
So anyway, the area in blue is the area that they're planning on selling to Triad Properties. That area should either be used for a new city hall or a new Madison County courthouse. I cannot imagine building a $100 million, $200 million facility here that includes restaurants, condominiums, hotel, whatever, that is going to destroy other parts of the neighborhood. City center, it's going to suck away potential clients for those facilities that are also part of the UDA 5-year plan. And so this should be either built as a city hall for Huntsville, this property, or a Madison County courthouse. And it should be done through open competition, through outside architectural firms, outside construction firms, and there are other developers. There are large developers in this country that will do a private-public partnership where they will do the design, build, construct, and then lease and resale of the property to the city. And so, you know, there are right now, there are no plans anywhere to put a new county courthouse in. And that's just, I mean, I can't believe that anybody would have a redevelopment plan for downtown Huntsville without a new county courthouse. That is the oldest, ugliest building down here. And to have a multi-million-dollar building built diagonally across the street from it is just ridiculous. And so I guess I'd also like to know what the name of the Triad Crunkleton unnamed, to-be-formed, limited liability partnership is. I'd like to know how you're going to come up with the financial information on a brand-new partnership that has 0 time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Devenish.
Can I have
Your
one
time
more
is-
minute?
Is there
Yes.
everyone okay with that?
Thank you.
We will give
Thank
you
you,
one more
Mark.
minute, Mr. Devenish.
Thanks. I'd also like to see a copy of the purchase sale agreement and the development agreement. I've been trying to get a copy of the LOI, an electronic copy that has the signatures on it, but I haven't been able to get that. And I would also like to know who the developers are going to be for the other 3 locations that UDA made part of their 5-year plan. Who's going to be given the Washington Square, the VBC parking deck, and the northeast downtown area? I think that this LOI should be canceled so that we can take a different approach to this whole downtown redevelopment. Thanks.
Madam
Thank you,
President?
Mr. Devenish.
Madam President, I believe that Mr. Devenish actually contacted you and myself requesting the documents, and they were provided by the city clerk's office. I saw a copy of what was sent to you.
Yeah. I received a paper copy that I had to scan. It doesn't have any of the signatures on it. I had to delete the actual couple of the appendix because the file was so large. It was 12 megs, and I couldn't email it to anybody. So the copy that you received is not a complete copy, and it could easily be sent to me as an electronic copy. It's just.
Madam
I
President,
believe Mr. Hamilton has some comments. to
If
make.
I could just hit on a couple things that I think it'd be good for council and for the public to make sure that we have accurate information, because there's some things that were said that are not accurate or implied some inaccuracy. So let me hit on those if I could. First off, the map that Mr. Devenish has put up there is not accurate. So the graphics that he's added of the parcel that he believes is in question is not accurate. So the blue hashed area that he described there is not what's in conversation with Triad and the Crunkleton partnership. A portion of it is, but I would urge people not to use that map and think that that's an accurate reflection. That is not an accurate map. Secondly, both in his emails and then in other comments, he has it seems as though he believes that the city hall construction is part of the conversation with Triad, and it absolutely is not. So the only negotiations that are going on are for private development by Triad and Crunkleton partnership on this particular parcel where we sit right now. The construction of the city hall, the design of the city hall is completely independent of that. A different architectural firm, the city will bid that construction, the city will construct it and own it and operate it like they do the current city hall. And so anybody who believes that Triad or their architect is involved in the City Hall construction should not believe that. That is not true. The third thing, I've heard Mr. Devenish and many others refer to UDA's plan for downtown. UDA does not have a plan for downtown. The city has a plan for downtown. UDA is an architectural firm and a planning firm who we hired to assist us in developing our master plan for downtown. And it became ours when City Council voted to adopt it. It is not UDA's plan. It is the city's plan. Just like when you have your house designed, you hire an architect. It doesn't become the architect's house, it's your house. And they only assisted you in designing your house. There's no difference in the way we do master plans. All the plans that we do, we almost always hire some outside firm to assist us and advise us in developing our plan and our design of those things. And that's exactly what happened with the downtown master plan. So UDA does not have a plan for various parcels around downtown. We have plans for some of them. What the public should understand, and this point has been made on numerous occasions, is that master plan is a concept. It is a picture that describes what is possible. It is certainly a recommendation, and UDA was directly involved with us in developing those recommendations. That's what a master plan is. Ultimately, the buildings that occur on those particular sites will almost certainly not look anything like those that are in that picture. Those pictures are there to really kind of get the creative juices flowing, to give us something to talk about, to negotiate around. Ultimately, I think that the buildings that Triad built on this parcel will be very similar to what you see in the master plan, but they absolutely will not be exactly like what's in the master plan, because the master plan is just a concept that we use as a guide to guide those future developments. The other locations that Mr. Devenish asked about, I'm not aware of any ongoing negotiations, though that could change rapidly. There's certainly a lot of interest in development in our downtown. There's a lot of different parcels in downtown where we know the private developers are looking at. In some cases, it may involve the city. In some cases, it may not. And that's always been true and will always be true, not only in the downtown area, but also for development throughout the city. And so there's nothing about the process that we've gone through for the last few months that changes the way in which we pursue those things. Those are normal conversations that go on routinely. There is not yet a development agreement for this parcel. There is an LOI. What Mr. Devenish received is a summary of that LOI. There are elements of the LOI, as in every LOI, that are proprietary in nature and are not releasable to the public. Whenever there is a purchase and sale agreement, whenever there is a development agreement, it will be presented publicly to council. The paper won't matter until council votes on it, like every development agreement and every purchase and sale agreement that we pursue. So some of the documents he's asked for do not currently exist.
Mr. Davis, I see you. Thank you.
And I might also mention, there's no purchase agreement at this time. There's no name of the corporation. There's no developer of the other three sites. All this was way premature before we're ready to move forward on some of this. The LOI is just that letter of intent to give us some working parameters and give developer a feeling that they can spend money on this and look at it, and we will look at them seriously and not be. And look at it seriously as we work through it. So that's where we are at this point.
Your battle. Thank you, Mr. Devenish.
John, I'd like for you to.
I'm sorry, Mr. Devenish, your time is up.
I'd like John to tell me
Mr.
what
Devenish,
part of this is
your
not
time
correct.
is up. Perhaps you can get together later on. Okay. Thank you. Jerry, next person to sign up is Jerry Cox. Subject is bus service. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Madam President. First, being a veteran of the United States Army, I wish to respectfully acknowledge the 8 United States military personnel killed as a result of hostile action in Iraq and Afghanistan last month. 1 United States Air Force airman and 7 United States Army soldiers, to include a 19-year-old soldier from Arkansas. I was just thinking, Madam President, out in our high schools today, every student probably that's in the high schools here in Huntsville, ever since they've been on this earth, American military have been dying in Afghanistan. For 16 years, American military have been dying in Afghanistan longer than those students have been on earth. And now thousands more are being sent to support and train so-called Afghan soldiers. The Afghan soldiers, if they haven't been trained in 16 years, are not trainable. I myself am not very trainable, but I was drafted into the United States Army and trained for 16 weeks, not 16 years, 16 weeks, and then was told that I was ready to go to war in Vietnam. Thankfully, that didn't happen. I am sure our soldiers, sailors and airmen will still be dying there when these high school students now graduate from college. The matter I came to talk to the council tonight was to ask that you include in the upcoming budget the expansion of the city's shuttle bus service to Saturdays. Why? There are workers in this city who utilize the bus service during the week to go to work in the restaurants, the hotels, the stores and the shops. When they have to go on Saturday, they sometimes have to work 4 hours.
Mr. Cox, your time is up. Would you like another minute?
I'll come back next time.
You're welcome to take another
Maybe we
minute
won't have
now.
soldiers dying, and I'll come back and at the next meeting and talk about the bus.
Madam President, I'd be glad to move that we give Mr. Cox an additional minute.
It would take more than a minute, Mr. Kling. I'll just come back to the next meeting.
But your point is well taken regarding expanding bus service, and we will certainly ask that question during the budget meeting on Monday night. The next person to sign up is Mr. Thomas Piff. Subject is iconic building. Mr. Piff.
Thomas Piff, 11314 Delcrest Drive, Huntsville, Alabama. Just so you know, iconic buildings are cool. I get it. However, my concerns are as follows, and they are quite stackable. By signing the letter of intent with Triad, you have declared yourself willing to forgo this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to expand the green space of our Central Park for future generations. Forever. The trade-off you're choosing for us is unclear. It is not transparent. If we absolutely must have a new iconic building downtown, there is plenty of underutilized real estate available. Use it instead. If we absolutely must have an iconic building located on our city property, adjacent to Huntsville's historic Big Spring, then the people of Huntsville should own it, and not a private developer. The promised public spaces could be built, owned, and leased out by the city of Huntsville instead. If we absolutely must have a privately owned, iconic building in the aforementioned location, then multiple developers should be invited to offer competing designs and proposals in order to secure the very best deal for all of the citizens of Huntsville. It's called Request for Proposals. Securing the best deal is what sellers' agents are morally and legally obligated to do. If it is a done deal that we must have a privately owned, iconic building looming over our symbol of life and community, then we absolutely must revisit the terms set forth in the Letter of Intent Summary. Letter of Intent Summary implies that a full-blown letter of intent exists, and some of the terms are utterly unacceptable from the seller's perspective. We are the sellers. I urge you, our elected representatives, to carefully reread the full-blown letter of intent, if you can find it, paying particular attention to the December 31st, 2017 drop-dead date, the egregious seller's covenants, the vague mix of uses that would allow this thing to go pretty much private in a heartbeat, the unknown building heights, and the parking paragraph weasel words, shared parking, potential ownership structures, and potential public-private joint venture alternatives. Look no further than the difference between what was promised and what was delivered in the 14 years that have transpired since Triad gave us the previous iconic building.
Mr. Piff, your time is up.
I got 2 more sentences. Our Big Spring is and should remain our
Let's
enduring
continue.
symbol of life and community. Our Big Spring should not be turned into a publicly financed amenity for private profiteering. Every great city has its own great central park and its short-lived shopping districts. The Mall, heart of Huntsville, Parkway City, Madison Square Mall. Why are we trying to turn our Big Spring Park into another world-famous Bridge Street? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piff. Any comments? The last person to sign up is Jackie Reed. Subject is city government. Ms. Reed.
Good evening. We didn't have a prayer today for up here, and I personally want to thank God for saving Councilman Mark Russell's life.
Thank you.
I think he had a big hand in it, and I think he did, and I think we need him. Great guy, like I said. I was praying all the time. My mother died at 53. She sat down and had a heart attack, and it was over. So I really feel, and I'm thank God for you every day, Mark Russell. And I want to thank you all for allowing public input. A lot of questions going on about this piece of property here. I put in Speaking Out in the News, this is not for sale. Nobody in this city has enough money to buy this prime piece of property. And why in the world would you put it up for sale and give it to a developer? We are the developers. We're going to tear this place down, give it to somebody. You say we're going to pay for it, but we've been giving it all away. Don't turn that light on yet. I'm not through. Anyway, I'm saying we need to keep this city hall, rebuild it right where it's at. It's a beautiful site. It needs to stay right here. I don't know if I put an injunction on you, if it'd even stop it or not. I don't know if I could do that. I need to talk to my lawyer. This is the people's government, whether you all like it or not. It's not your government. We pay for it through taxes, through property taxes, through everything. You all sit up there and you're elected, but we put you up there, and we can put you out. So you need to think about things before you take a vote. I know you voted on a master plan, and you said it's not binding. I read all about these big, fine, tall buildings going to be put up downtown in the paper, and it's got my hair gray, and I had to go have it colored because this has upset me terrible that you'd even think about it. It upset me really, really bad when I read this. And you're making a deal, and he's got till December the 31st to make a purchase and make a deal, but it's not binding. Why do you keep on keeping on, and you're telling the public one thing and you're doing another? Stop it. That is bad government. Have a work session, invite the public, and see what everybody's got to say. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying all of you make a bad mistake when you sell and give this property away. And I want to ask you, did you really settle a lawsuit about Cabela? And how much was that? Golly, when I read that, I was kind of shocked too. Cabela lawsuit settled and dismissed. Were we playing politics in that? I even went to the segregation meeting and told her the school's in the worst mess it's ever been in since 1958 when I came here. I've never seen such a mess in my life. No planning was done with the city.
Ms. Reed, your time is up.
I don't need another minute.
Would you like another minute?
Could I have another minute, please?
I would support it.
Yes.
I'll try to calm down the next minute. Anyway, I told her that politics played a big role in our schools. I think it's sad. 176 buses, 2,000 students in the. We got behavioral problems. We owe $270 million in the school system. I mean, we're going to need a bankruptcy lawyer if we keep this up. I mean, you need to think about it. And I would like for Mr. Hamilton to tell me, I have to bring this up. Fletcher Seldom Center is an investigator in the police officer office over there. And I was told by somebody that they had the fence all the way around that to save the cars where they parked every night. And somebody told me that a certain person had the fence took down, and now they have to park their cars down here at the parking garage and get a ride over there because the fence is taken down. Somebody at City Hall had the fence taken down. So that needs looking into, and somebody said, well, it violates our ordinance. Y'all can do anything you want to. But people are telling me they have to catch a ride from a parking garage to keep the thieves and the robbers out of their cars over there. So look into that, please.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
For being with us. Mr. Hamilton.
So Ms. Reed is not correct. There never was a fence all the way around the Selden Center. The rear parking lot is fenced, and that's where our police officers park. There at one time, unfortunately, the contractor mistakenly placed some fencing that went up the sides on the front that did not go across the front. It wasn't fully fenced in. It just blocked pedestrian traffic, which was not the intent. So we had them correct the mistake. But that area was never fenced completely, and we actually have found that area to be very safe, and we think that the police presence there is a very good thing for the community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton. And I also will share with you, going back to Ms. Reed's comments about Councilman Russell. When I called Ms. Reed to tell her about Councilman Russell, after talking with her and hearing her reaction in that conversation, she beats us all up really bad. But I think secretly she actually really cares about us based on that conversation, and that was very nice to learn.
And we'll finish with Cabela's. Cabela's was an agreement between two developers and another developer. Had nothing to do with the city of Huntsville.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Mr. Kling.
I'd like to point out the last meeting was the one I missed. That was the third one I missed this millennium. And you know, I've had family things I do. But I want to publicly apologize to Mr. Russell. I didn't know that my missing a meeting would make him fall apart like that. So I'll try to stick around more often.
I think we've picked on him enough tonight.
I think it's why I lasted another day.
There you go.
We're glad you're back.
That concludes our citizen comments. Item 8, Huntsville utility items. We have 2 items tonight. Mr. Gertis is with us to present those items. Item 8A is a resolution authorizing the approval to purchase a new truck for the locates section. This is PR 102608003.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Kling. Mr. Gertis.
Thank you, Madam President. Joe Gertis, Huntsville Utilities. This is to purchase a Ford F-150 at estimated cost at $27,900.
Any questions for Mr. Gertis?
Where's Locatus?
Where's
the
Locatus?
Locatus section?
Locates is the part of our company that goes out and does the call before you dig duties.
Okay.
And as you know, with all the construction activity we have in our area, they are in high demand right now.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a tri-party agreement between TVA, City of Huntsville, and Teledyne Brown Engineering, Inc., allowing Teledyne Brown Engineering, Inc. to participate in the Valley Investment Initiative Program.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from the chair. Mr. Gertis.
This is an agreement that primarily TVA makes with, in this case, Teledyne Brown, where in exchange for some capital and some employment investments, they get some credits on their utility, their electric bill, to the tune in this agreement of a little more than $1.5 million over 5 years.
Questions? Comments? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gertis. And I believe you have another announcement.
Yes, ma'am. This one not coming very pleasantly, but we wanted to make the attending and the viewing public aware of some rate increases that will be in place come October 1. The one on the electric rate is a pass-through from TVA. The TVA Board of Directors approved a 1.5% increase at their meeting last month, And so that will be applied to our customer bills coming up October 1. More significantly, we have a number of really across the board increases to our natural gas rates and availability fees. And I've spoken with most of you about this. Councilman Keith, I apologize I was not able to catch up with you today, but I did leave the rate sheet at your place there up at the table. The fee increases are stepped out over 3 years. Well, technically 2 years, but beginning this October and then each of the subsequent 2 October 1s, customers in all rate classes will realize an availability increase. And then 2 of our rate classes, residential and commercial, will see a increase in their usage rates this first year only. The rates will be posted, they're actually posted now on our website, placed prominently, so they will be easy to find. This is the first rate increase we've had for natural gas in roughly 9 years. And our rates remain competitive with our peer utilities, both on the availability fees and the usage rates.
Madam President, if I may.
So, Mr. Keith.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk, and again, thank you for the email and being up front, but I'll probably send an email follow-up, to Olszewski and to you all. Obviously, with considering my district, I would imagine, I would hope that you guys would do some sense of a public announcement. The list goes on. I know that I'm going to probably get 10 to 12 calls about how I raise rates, and I get a chance to put it on you guys, and I want you to help me do that. So if you could take the same, I imagine the process of Facebook, which was very successful in the last rate increase, but just a full court press on why this, what is a pass-through? And we understand it, but I'm sure a number of my constituents won't. So.
Yes, sir. And we have that planned for tomorrow morning, a news release. And when we do a news release, we accompany that with social media postings. And then, we'll take our lumps.
Yeah.
In this case, Councilman Russell did ask me, why are we doing this? Some of it is keeping up with the cost of doing business, which we have to do as a not-for-profit utility. We did do a cost of service study, and these increases represent a conservative approach to what that cost of service study recommended. But also tied up in this, and I know this will interest you, Councilman, is the completion of our cast iron main replacement program.
Absolutely.
By doing the rest of that work, which really constitutes about 13 miles worth of cast iron mains that we are regulatorily required to replace a portion of each year, by knocking that out all on one contract now, we're cutting the cost in about half.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with it. And again, out of that, we probably get a road that needs to be resurfaced because of it. But again, the messaging has to be given in a way that it can be understood. And
absolutely.
We sent for the dais, understanding it more so in a different way than a constituent who sits at home is going to understand it. So again, I am not saying dumb down the message. I am not saying not give facts, but be very creative in the way that you let people know you're raising their rates.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from Mr.
Yes,
Curtis?
please.
Mr. Kling.
The electric rate increase, how much of that is going to you and how much goes to TVA?
Absolutely none of it goes to Huntsville Utilities. That will be an increase in our electric bill with TVA that we must pass through to the customer. We have our own rates and fees, and TVA has their own.
Thank you.
That's what a pass-through means.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you.
Item 9, board appointments. We have no board appointments to be voted on. We do have a number of board appointment nominations for nomination only. 9B1 is a nomination to appoint Stephen A. Johnson to the Museum Board for a term to expire August 13th, 2023, made by the chair. 9B2 is a nomination to reappoint Jane Tippett to the Beautification Board for a term to expire October 1, 2020, made by Mr. Kling. 9B3 is a nomination to reappoint Donna Parker to the Beautification Board for a term to expire October 1, 2020, Mr. Kling. 9B4 is a nomination to reappoint Robert Bob Bowdenstill to the Beautification Board for a term to expire October 1, 2020, for Mr. Kling. 9B5 is a nomination to reappoint Shannon Windsor to the Beautification Board for a term to expire October 1, 2020, made by the chair. These will be voted on at the next council meeting. Item 10 is approval of expenditures. 9A is a resolution authorizing expenditures for payment. This is from the Finance Committee. Mr. Kling, would you like to make that motion?
Not really. I don't really like spending $20 million. Madam President, I move, whoops, wrong paper. Just a moment, I apologize.
We have it here for you.
Oh, okay, I'll use this one. Okay, payment of vouchers in the amount of $20,429,264.33.
Chair seconds.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Russell seconds. Is there any question, any comments, any discussion with regard to this report? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Does the Finance Committee have any other reports, Mr. Kling?
Just that we do have a budget, and I think there's going to be some good discussion.
That's, for the next couple of weeks, we will be paying a lot of attention to that budget, and we will be hearing more with regard to that. Moving on to communications from the mayor. Mayor Battle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I'd like to commend our EMA staff for their efforts to keep us informed on weather-related activities. This was the EMA event that is one of the best of the EMA events. It's an event that really didn't happen, but it could have happened. And we were ready for it if it did come, we were ready for it. Being that it didn't come, we came through unscathed, and everybody said, boy, we were worrying about nothing. But I can assure you that there are a lot of people throughout this United States who said we were not worrying about nothing. There was enough to warrant the activity that was taking place, and we want to say thank you to EMA and thank you for the job that they do on a regular day-to-day basis to have us ready to go. And all the EMA agencies that we had. Monday we had the 9/11 ceremony. Several of us were at the Clinton Avenue Fire Department, 746, when the first plane hit the building to commemorate that 16 years ago. And as we sat there, we thought about things that could happen and things that you never would expect to happen, and how much we depend on our EMA, our public safety officials, and how much we have to depend on them to do their work. And to each of them, we say thank you tonight, and we reiterate that thank you to them. Also, okay, good news. Green Street Market is happening right now. We went by it this afternoon. They were setting up, and there were lots of vendors out there. This weekend, the Montesano Arts Festival is this weekend on September 16th and 17th. It's free to the public. Local artists will feature their work. And also, we have a free International Festival of North Alabama at the UAH Fitness Center starting at 10 o'clock. This is always a very interesting event. If you go to, there are many international groups who are in this city, many more than you realize. And you can see lots of international tents and cultures will be experienced there, and it really is a lot of fun. I've been there year after year. Our Healthy Huntsville 100-mile walking challenge is at the JC Building and Fairgrounds at John Hunt Park, Thursday the 21st at 3:30. And Huntsville Hospital is hosting a free Autumn Chase fun run. It's also walking friendly, just for kids, Thursday the 21st at 3:30 at the same place. So if you have a chance to get out, this is just a way to get a little bit healthier. We've come through the summer. We've got to get ready for the holidays, so we might as well get ready for the holidays because we will eat lots in the holidays. So let's get scale down now, and then we can scale down after the holidays and be really ready and change our eating habits. Along with all the echoes about Mr. Russell and him coming through his event on the ball field at Madison Academy, Mr. Russell, we're glad to have you here. I did go see Mr. Russell Sunday night, and Mrs. Russell was there, and Mrs. Russell said things are changing at the Russell house. We will be eating better, we will be exercising better, and we will be on a schedule. So congratulations to Mr. Russell. I hope your schedule is working out well for you.
You want my wife to answer that, or me? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. We will now move to communications from the council, and we will start with Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, I want to thank everyone for their care and concern about me. As you may know, I had a heart attack at Madison Academy football field approximately 3 weeks ago, and a nurse, a wonderful lady, Paulette Berryman, happened to be standing on the sideline and was able to immediately start CPR, and HIMSI and Madison Academy, the football team, the coaches, the nurses, the trainers, Macaulay from Chattanooga, their doctors, everyone worked to save me. HIMSI brought me to Huntsville Hospital, and I received excellent care there, and I'm so proud that we have an emergency center like Huntsville Hospital for our citizens. As I joke with Mark McCarter, I'm glad to have gone through it. I do not want to test it again, but I can tell you my one test, it worked very well. And so very proud of that. And so again, I want to say thank you to all my constituents that cared for me. I want to thank Ms. Reed for, I know you actually do care, and I appreciate it. And I want to thank the mayor and my colleagues. It was very special, all the care that I received from y'all. And so then moving on, I want to talk about the downtown master plan for, it seems like we've been working on this for years and had many public hearings and many discussions, but what I hear tonight from the public is they weren't there or we didn't do a good job, and I thought we did a great job. So if we could ask Dennis Madsen to come down and talk about the process and what we have on the YouTube and the videos on the internet about that process. A lot of these questions that are being asked have been brought up and explained many times. Is Mr. Madsen here?
They're making noise over there like they're getting him. Mr. Madsen, the question is with regard to the process for creating the master plan and how, or how we're promoting the master plan moving forward.
And specifically, Mr. Madsen, we talked about, the edge of Big Spring Park many times in those public meetings, and I specifically know it was asked here in the work session. It was asked several of the meetings I attended, but it seems like we didn't get the word out. So can you briefly just talk about the process we went through, how many public hearings we had, what went on at those public hearings, and how you did listen to the public?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, because I got the same sense listening to public comments. We did a series of 3 major public events. The first one held at the Art Museum, the second one held at the VBC, and the third one held here. Those were over the course of earlier this year, winter going into spring and early summer. Each one of those was also associated with smaller public events, oftentimes at local venues like UG White downtown. We had one at Green Bus Brewing to give folks a variety of opportunities to come out and share their ideas with us. We formed a number of downtown stakeholder committees, including residents, governments, businesses, that we engaged in smaller formats to get a lot of their input. We did a lot, not only in person, but also on Facebook and social media. I have to always tip my cap to our communications folks, because they pretty much carpet bomb the community with press releases, with social media outreach. They really helped us get a lot of that word out. I understand in today's media environment, it's really hard to get 100% of the folks out there, but I feel like we went pretty much above and beyond to get that word out and engage as many folks in the discussion as we possibly could.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madsen. Thank you, Councilman Russell. Mr. Keith.
Can I go second, third?
Oh, yes, Mr. Kling.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, Mark, just good to be sitting next to you like this. This Saturday, I'm going to be working with Eric Wade, who I think council members may recall has been here at the council meetings. Me, him, members of the Prince Hall Freemasons, and members of the Eastern Star are working together to put on a big community outreach picnic gathering that's going to be going on this Saturday at 11 o'clock at Jim Merrick Park over in the Merrimack neighborhood, just west of Triana Boulevard. And this is a great thing to do, I guess similar to what Mayor Battle was talking about, a chance to kind of celebrate the good weather and our appreciation for it while we still have it, because we know good weather is going to be leaving us in the very near future. And also seriously to take a moment to look back and reflect and pay homage to all the victims of the two hurricanes that we've had over the last month that have devastated many of our fellow citizens. And it's going to be a great event. Eric and folks have been working real hard on it, and I'm really looking forward to participating in that with them. Also, yesterday, along with Railroad Authority board members Jerry Cox and Debbie Reed, I had a chance to go to the Operation Awareness and Response briefing that was put on by Norfolk Southern at the Railroad Depot. And among the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that I had yesterday was a chance to climb up into the cab of a locomotive, to sit in the chair that operated that multi-million-pound train, and to see efforts that the Norfolk Southern team has made working with our police department and fire department to make sure that we are protected if there's ever any type of a catastrophic emergency involving a train. And it was a real neat experience. I guess maybe it's not the most professional word to use, but it was very neat just to see and to participate and to sit and walk through and see kind of behind the scenes the portions of a large train and what's involved in maintaining them. And the importance that Norfolk Southern puts on safety is very comforting, like that. And that's about all I have, Madam President. Glad to be back.
Mr. Kling, and we missed you last time. And we made a point of 3 meetings in how many decades?
This millennium. But from what the staff said, the missing was based on a 2-2 vote. And I never did quite figure out who voted which way.
We're glad to have you back, Mr. Keith.
I think that was like our shortest meeting when he wasn't there. No, I sort of want to join in the sentiments, and it's a very funny moment, but a very serious moment. Councilman President Robinson called me and really facilitated what was an hour-long, arduous process of us at least finding the group of support when Councilman Russell went down, but in a very funny manner, but serious manner. I was talking to Colonel Hamilton, and I was like, how's he taking it? And I'm almost freaking out, about to have had a heart attack, and he's like, he's taking it how Mark would take it. And I think everybody at City Hall knows what that means, but in a very serious manner, it is a blessing to have you back, and it is a true blessing to sort of be a colleague in this process of my own political career, and having you as somebody who has sort of pulled me along in a lot of ways, and I want to say that publicly. Thank you. I also want to say this because I haven't got a chance to. Since our last meeting, I had a development meeting announcement for the Johnson property, and it was, in a lot of ways, a learning experience. I grew up a little bit after that meeting, and for a number of different reasons. And what I saw, and I can't say thank you enough, was that there were department heads, City Hall officials who either text me or called me or were there at the meeting, and you know who you are, and said, keep your head up. Days like this are gonna come. Not everybody's gonna like you. Not everybody's gonna get it. And though you would think I would understand that, realizing that I didn't get 100% of the vote, though now I feel like I did with everybody who told me they voted for me. I got a chance to sort of learn that in a unique way. And I can't say thank you enough to all of you who, one, were involved with it, but everybody from the council members and everything that sent the text of support, understanding that we were trying to do something different and what that looks like from City Hall. You have been a blessing to me in a very unique time in my own life and my political career as well, so thank you. That also gets to this morning, yet again. We went down and had a very productive meeting with the leadership at Alabama A&M. I think it was really a substantial step in trying to understand how do we partner with big entities. We really know how we do it on the private-public partnership side and why we want to bring big businesses in, but we have to ask ourselves, how do we aid in the productivity of a university that has a humongous impact in our community? And we have to be extremely reasonable in the steps that we're willing to take. But I think that now, from what I got from that meeting, everybody understands, so goes Alabama A&M, so goes Huntsville, so goes Huntsville, so goes Alabama A&M. And I'm thankful for Councilman Russell and as well as Councilmember President Ms. Robinson for coming and understanding that and being supportive of hearing that. And I think, Alabama A&M, I got so many texts and emails about they felt for the first time the city of Huntsville cares. And though I know we've always cared, we get an opportunity to sort of put, hand and foot to the plow in a sense, to helping them grow in the right way so that we have a successful Huntsville as a whole. So in closing, I guess you could say, I want to say thank you again for City Hall being City Hall for me and helping me grow as a city council member.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. And finally, I would again comment on our judge selection procedure, which we engaged in earlier today. This was a new procedure we've used. The city has never had a process before for selecting, for filling vacancies. The process worked beautifully. It resulted in a really fine pool of candidates, and we are grateful for those who, for their willingness, all those who expressed their willingness to serve and their interest in serving, and we will conclude that process at our next meeting and finalize that process with Mr. Grimes and Mr. Robinson, and wish them well in their appointments as we move forward in that. There were some folks involved in that process, particularly Thomas Byron, our director of HR, and Mr. Riley, our city attorney, and Sisti Cates, who is also one of our city attorneys, who worked with a new process to do the best, to help us stay legal within the lanes and still make it work right. And I thank them for hours of work. Mr. Riley has also been putting hours of work into helping me deal with an issue in my district, a result of storm damage on August 10th. People who were living at the base of Green Mountain, the base of Mathis Mountain, were affected, and we are still dealing with the aftermath of that storm. Mr. Riley has spent hours and hours and hours tracing deeds and working with insurance people and doing all kinds of work with that, and we are grateful to the residents for their patience with the process and thank Mr. Riley for his efforts on that. Finally, we do have really great people working for the city, and I'm so excited that we have a group of them that are going to get the recognition they deserve. As part of the Women Honoring Women event, which will take place next week, Kathy Anderson of Woody Anderson Ford is going to put together a video which features our female department heads. And these are folks who don't often get a lot of recognition, and she is going to be filming that and showing it at the event. So I appreciate Ms. Anderson's efforts to recognize some of our really exceptional department heads. Now we'll have to do it for the guys, too. That concludes communications from council. Item 13, unfinished business items for action. 13A, ordinance number 17-645, annexing 15.48 acres of land lying on the south side of Harbin Road and west of Nance Road. This was introduced at the August 24, 2017 regular council meeting.
Madam President, I move to approve the ordinance.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from the chair. Is there any, yes, Ms. Ashley.
This annexation request is approximately 15.48 acres. This property is located on the south side of Harbin Road and west of Nance Road. There's currently a single-family detached home here. The current structure will be demolished, and this property will serve as a proposed residential subdivision.
Are there any questions for Ms. Nichols? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 13B is ordinance number 17-646, declaring equipment surplus and authorizing the disposal of surplus equipment.
Move to approve the ordinance.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Keith. Are there any discussion or questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 13C is ordinance number 17-647, declaring equipment surplus and authorizing the surplus equipment to be sold to Tennessee Valley Recycling. This was introduced at the August 24, 2017 regular council meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Keith. Are any discussions or questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, new business items for introduction. These are for introduction only. They will be presented and for our consideration at the September 28th regular council meeting. 14A is an introduction of an ordinance concerning the annexation of 20.4 acres of land lying on the east side of Railroad Bed and south of Capshaw Road. 14B is introduction of an ordinance to adopt the City of Huntsville annual budget for fiscal year 2018, beginning October 1, 2017. 15C is introduction of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a master agency appropriation agreement between the City of Huntsville and various agencies. 14D is an introduction of a resolution to authorize the City of Huntsville 1990 capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2018 to 2027. 14E is an introduction of a resolution to approve the City of Huntsville 2014 capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2018 to 2027. 14F is an introduction of an ordinance amending ordinance number 89-79 classification and salary plan ordinance. 14G is introduction of an ordinance to amend section 22.14 of ordinance 04-315 Conference and Travel Policy of the Code of Ordinance. 14H is an introduction of an ordinance to amend ordinance number 89-79 to provide all eligible employees of the City of Huntsville a cost of living adjustment COLA as reflected in the 2017-2018 budget effective October 9, 2017. As I said, normally these are items only for introduction. Normally we don't have presentations, but because a number of these do involve the budget, and in preparation for our work session on Monday night at 5 o'clock in these chambers, when we will explore them more in depth, we do have a few introductory slides to share. And
If I might just preface this this conversation on the budget, there were three different items that we really picked out as areas that we needed to focus on. Number one, public safety. You'll notice in this budget there are 10 additional police officers. Number two, paving. Not sexy, but something that needs to be done. Over the past years, we've spent $5 to $6 million in paving. We're doubling that amount and spending about $12 million in paving this year. And you can figure it out. You get $54,000 for every lane mile that you remill and repave. You can figure out how many lane miles of road that you will get out of $12 million. It won't repave everything, but it gets us a lot farther, twice as far as we have in the past. The third thing is communications, and it's communications from both the council and the mayor's office to make sure that we communicate and keep communicating with our public. You know, part of this is what we're talking about tonight is we communicate, and then someone comes up and says, I had no idea. And so we have to go back and communicate again. But this is one of the reasons that we have put the money back into communications in our budget to make sure that we can continue to communicate with the public. What you're going to see in roads, we're on the fifth year of the $25 million Restore Our Roads plan. Fifth year of our $25 million Restore Our Roads plan. We have $12 million worth of connector roads, roads like Greenbrier, Sanderson, McCrary, Weatherly, and we have a public safety training facility in the budget. And finally, there's a 1% COLA in there, 1% COLA for employees. And that is the basis of what we've seen in the budget. We sat down and looked at this, and I think we conferred with a number of council members on it. But the key is, it's not a sexy budget, but it's a budget that is a functional budget for the city. It adds public safety, it adds to paving of streets, it adds to communication, it adds to our road system. It gives us facilities to make sure that we still have one of the best public safety training facilities in the state or in the nation. And it takes care of our employees. So to each of you, I want to say that we tried to make sure that we address the needs that we saw, and that's how we do a budget. Is the budget is our place to address needs that we see in our community. Ms. Sargent.
thank you, Mayor Battle. Has he left anything for you, Ms. Sargent?
Just the numbers. So, as Mayor Battle said, today we're only going to do a very high-level overview. We'll cover the general fund and the two capital plans. On Monday, we'll go into much more detail for everybody at the work session. So this year, again, we are presenting a balanced budget to the council. We have annual revenues and annual expenditures both at $197.6 million. And those expenses are broken down into four main categories. Personnel, as you can see, still makes up the majority of our expenses at almost 74%, and that does include the 1% COLA. And our plan this year, although we have not finalized contracts at this point, is to maintain health insurance costs at the same level they are for all current and retired employees that are in the PPO plan, and a very minimal increase for active employees in the PNC plan. Operations are the next highest level of spending for the city, and that's another $34 million and 17%. Appropriations to outside agencies that are partners with the city to make sure that we are the city we want to be going forward is $17 million and approximately 9%. And then operating capital, which is separate from your capital plans. It's what we have within the departments to make sure we have the computers we need, the electronics and other things like that, is another $1 million and just under 1%. Next is the 1990 capital plan. This is the capital plan that's been in place the longest. We use it for maintaining the city as we go forward. As you can see, we have total projects of $98 million budgeted, with $28.4 million in municipal facility projects and $37 million in public park projects, another $20 million in infrastructure, and then smaller projects with community development, fleet and durable equipment, and economic development. Economic development is very small in the 1990 capital plan because that's what the 2014 capital plan was put in place for, and it carries the heavier burden of that. There will be a debt issue in 2018, and that will cover both the 1990 capital plan and the 2014 capital plan. In 2014's capital plan, there's just under $60 million of projects. Most of these are, all of these are in the economic development realm, with street constructions and other street projects combining for just under $40 million, drainage another $600,000, multimodal with $7 million, economic development, which is unidentified, or some are identified, but more generic economic development than what's been identified as line items at $5 million, and then redevelopment efforts of another $7 million.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sargent. We won't open for questions right now. We will let everybody study the materials they've been given. You've all been provided copies of the various budget items, and then we will have a very vibrant discussion, I'm sure, on Monday at 5 o'clock. Oh, Mr. Keith.
Will it be a pass out handout for the people who are coming, or?
What materials
Or
will
do
we
we
provide
post
the
it
public?
online? I know we can't print it all out. I was just wondering, how do we?
It's available online, and it's and the links are already available, and they're also provided to members of the media that are present. So, no, we don't typically make copies of the entire package for anybody who might show up. But we'll obviously have that for council, but not for the public.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Even if we just provided those 3 slides as just an overview, could we do that?
I agree. I'm
think
saying
those-
that for a group I already
that's
know who's
just-
already asked for it.
Just for the public when they come, just to give them that high-level overview summary, just those 3 slides?
We can make a copy of that. I mean,
Yeah, and just have that for that
that's
night.
easy to do.
Thank you all very much. We'll look forward to that. We'll move on to 15, new business items for consideration or action. Please note that items 15N, 15O, and 15P have been deleted, and 15AL is the item that we added at the beginning of the meeting. Are there any items anyone wishes to hold for separate consideration?
Yes, Madam President, I wish to hold 15E, 15R, and 15U.
Any other items? Mr. Keith?
15M, please, Madam President.
15
M. Man.
M. The chair wishes to hold AE and AL. Let me just really quickly make sure we've got all those. M. And
So you held the annex, didn't you?
we're holding items 15E, 15R, 15M, 15U, 15AE, 15AL. Is that correct?
Yes.
Moving on. 15A, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement between the City of Huntsville and the Motorsports Lab, Inc. 15B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement between the City of Huntsville and the State of Alabama. 15C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the North Alabama Highway Safety Office and the City of Huntsville, Alabama for project funds. 15D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to submit an application for the fiscal year 2017 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program between the City of Huntsville, Alabama and the United States Department of Justice. 15F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the plat entitled North Huntsville Industrial Park Phase 6. 15G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a reimbursable agreement between the City of Huntsville and Huntsville Utilities for relocation of utility facilities on private or public right-of-way work for Martin Road between Old Jim Williams and Zert Road, project number 65-10-RD07, ALDOT project number ACAA 60160, A trip 12. 15H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the modification number 1 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and S&ME Inc. for the construction materials testing services for alternate access road from Moores Mill Road into Chase Industrial Park, project number 71-16-RD04. 15I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1 between the City of Huntsville and Miller Inc. for Jefferson Streetscape Phase 2, project number 71-16-SP28. 15J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a non-reimbursable agreement between the City of Huntsville and Southern Light for relocation of utility facilities on private or public right-of-way work for Martin Road between Old Jim Williams and Zert Road, project number 65-10-RD07. 15K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Barge, Wagner, Sumner, and Cannon, Inc. for professional services for 2017-2018 infrastructure for rebuilding America grant application for SR 255 Huntsville Northern Bypass, project number 65-10-RD08. 15L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and the low bidder Pierce Construction Company, Inc. for Merchant Square Parking Deck base bid and option number 1, option number 2, and option number 3, project number 71-17-SP45. 15Q is a resolution authorizing, or 15N is deleted, 15O is deleted, 15P is deleted. 15Q is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a special employee agreement between the City of Huntsville and Catherine Stamps. 15S is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke Bryant Bank letter of credit number 1254 for Dement Townhomes. 15T is a resolution authorizing the city attorney to settle the workers' compensation claim of Charles Rice. 15V is a resolution authorizing the City of Huntsville to enter into an agreement with C-Click Fix for customer service management Huntsville Connect application. 15W is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with the low bidders, meeting specifications as outlined in the attached summary of bids for acceptance. 15X is ordinance amending budget ordinance number 16-659 by changing the authorized personnel strength in various departments and funds. 15Y is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of donations. 15Z is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 16-659 by changing appropriated funding for various departments and funds. 15AA is a resolution authorizing travel expenses. 15AB is a resolution authorizing agreement between the City of Huntsville and the City of Madison for dispatching service. 15AC is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Madison County Mental Health Center for public transit services. 15AD is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Board of Trustees of the University of Alabama for public transit services. 15AF is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Corvell Enterprise Comp, Inc. for workers' compensation claims administration and loss control services. 15AG is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 regular full-time neighborhood services programmer position, grade 13. 15AH is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 regular full-time recreation coordinator position, grade 10. 15AI is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 Secretary 2 position, grade 10 for Human Resources. 15AJ is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 Secretary 2 position, grade 10, to higher than minimum if necessary for City Council. 15AK is a request for authorization to advertise and fill 1 Facilities Construction Projects Coordinator position at higher than minimum rate if necessary for general services.
Madam President, I move for consolidation approval of 15A through 15D, 15F through 15L, 15Q, 15S, 15T, 15V through 15AD, 15AF through 15AK.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Kling. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now go back. 15E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement between the City of Huntsville and Dynetics, Inc.
Move to approve.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second by the chair.
Madam President, could we get an explanation of this, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Davis, would you please answer questions from Mr. Russell?
Yes, Madam President.
Just looking for general overview.
Yes, sir. Dynetics wishes to expand their campus footprint in Cummings Research Park. So this agreement is for Dynetics to buy additional 40 acres in Research Park. It will make them one of the largest landholders in Cummings Research Park. The purchase price is $3,083,000.
Congratulations.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15M is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 2 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and Reed Contracting Services, Inc. for periodic bid for asphalt projects 2016, project number 71-16-SP12.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Russell, second by Mr. Keith. Mr. McNeese, could you answer questions for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is a modification number 2 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and Reed Contracting Services for periodic bid for a total of $2.9 or $2,931,123, and this is to be used for periodic needs throughout the year as need arises.
I guess the reason and it came to my attention, I remember on Hillview, I think it is, a lady brought up a very good point, and maybe I'm missing it. A number of those individuals have people who park their car in the street. If there was ever to be, I guess, any road paving, does Reed give a notice that we will be on your street paving the road?
Absolutely, yes, sir. They have personnel that would blanket the neighborhoods that are getting resurfaced. They'll give them several days' notice to have the cars off the streets when they come through the milling machines and eventually the paving machines.
Okay, I was just making sure that she just said that there's a whole bunch of cars, and I guess I did see it at a certain time, that it would probably be a problem, but as long as it's in there, then we're good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15R is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Fuqua and Partners for design services for the municipal building annex. We've had lots of questions about this tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second from the chair.
Madam President, yeah, we have questions.
Mr. Easter.
Mr. Easter, if you could generally explain this, give us an overview.
Yes, this agreement is to prepare construction and bid documents to demo or demolish the admin annex building next door. This is just to prepare documents. It can be used any time in the future that the city elects that it's the right time to take the building down. There's some design and some engineering that's required related to utilities, some infrastructure, also how the annex building is connected to this building. But this is just prepares the documents so when the city's ready to demolish the building, we will be ready.
And aren't we ready now?
No, sir. Yeah, there's utilities that are connected to the building. There's a power, electric, water, sewer. It's also physically attached to this building. We will have to make provisions so that there's safe exit from this building once that building's gone. There's a couple other things. There's a huge elevation difference between the Fountain Circle and Church Street, so we got to make sure that once the building's gone, that elevation is safe for people or the site.
Members of council, if I could add, you may recall it was probably a year or more ago when we came to you to approve the lease to move GIS over to 200 West Side Square, and that was to finish emptying out that building because there's significant problems with that building. It's very, very expensive to operate, and there's things about it that cannot be repaired, and so it needs to be demolished regardless of what happens with the rest of City Hall. In fact, back when we had that conversation, we quite frankly assumed that the conversation about building a new City Hall would come later than it actually has. So even if y'all took a vote to say we're never building a new City Hall, we would still want to demolish that annex portion of the building because of its condition. And so this design will tell us how to do it. It will be a complex demolition project. That demolition will have to be done in a way where the existing City Hall is preserved, as Mr. Easter says. So I think kind of to your question of are we ready, yes, we are ready to begin moving forward on demolishing that portion of the building, no matter what happens with any of these other development conversations that are going on.
Thank you.
And if nobody's ever, if you haven't ever been over there, on top floor is the jail, creepy place if you go up there, and I mean that by all in all ways. If you go up there, it is very creepy. Downstairs is the old municipal courts. Part of it is the old police headquarters. It's beat up. The elevators have been out for 10 years now.
That is correct, sir.
Elevators have been out for 10 years, and it's it's time to get rid of it. I mean, it's going to be a blight in the future, and it's very costly for us to keep up right now, as Mr. Hamilton said. It has a lot of old memories for some of us who were around a long time ago, but its memories are not outweighed by the costs that it has, and I don't want anybody to ever get lost up there, so I think it would be a good thing to go ahead and move forward, at least with the contract for the architect to be able to design how we would demolish it.
That is correct, and also I would like to add that it would be our recommendation that we demolish the building sooner than later. We are currently under a demand by the state of Alabama to remove the elevators that are in the building. There's a state law that elevators can only remain non-functional for a specific amount of time. We've exceeded that amount of time, and the cost just to remove the elevators to comply is going to be $20,000. We don't feel it's prudent to pay $20,000 to remove the elevators and then turn around and demo the building. So that's just another small element of some of the things we're dealing with.
Can the marble on the outside be preserved?
Well, I can tell you, none of the gray marble can be preserved, and that's going to be 90% of the building. If you go out and you look, you'll notice the marble was actually cast in place with the concrete, and it's adhered to it. That's why we've never had gray marble problems. The problems have always been with the white marble. The issue that we're going to have with the white marble is, you know, back in the 80s, we came through and we pinned all of the marble to the substrate. And now all the white marble has holes in them and all of that. So once we take them off, you know, we're going to have marble with holes. And it really has no value once you take them off either. That's the other problem we're going to deal with. The particular thickness of that marble is it's too thin for today codes, the codes for today. It has to be thicker than it is. So it cannot be reused on another application or another building because there's no way to make it thicker. So yeah, the marble, I want to say, it's not going to be salvageable. It's not going to be worth the money that's going to take it off and then have holes in it.
There's not a way that any of that marble, you know, I know it'd be a little extra expensive to take it down, but it's not a way that could be used as like the interior of, let's say, like the lobby of a future city hall or something like that, or, you know, a little memorial or something.
There's a potential that we could preserve some of the marble. Again, I know it's going to be very expensive to get the marble off, just to preserve it, because you have to get in behind the marble and it's going to be labor intensive. Right now, it would be my recommendation that we don't save the marble.
Maybe we could just save a piece for Miss Reed. Make her
Other questions or comments with regard to
bottom line, and I know it's kind of been said redundant, but bottom line, y'all have looked very carefully at this, and it's a lot more cost effective to take it down than to try to renovate, repair, rebuild.
It's exactly right. If you attempted to reoccupy that building, the cost to renovate it because of the codes at which the building was built under at that time compared to now, it'd be almost like rebuilding the building from scratch. And so there's really no way to do that.
Any other questions? No. All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15U is a resolution authorizing agreement for consulting services between the City of Huntsville and Capital Edge Strategies. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling.
Madam President, I have questions if Mr. Diamond's here.
Mr. Diamond is not here tonight.
Oh, this is our annual time. We get to question him. This is a
$68,000 contract with our Washington, D.C. Firm Capital Edge Strategies. I think a lot of us use that. They send out a Washington update every Friday and tell us what is going on in Washington. They give us ideas on grants that we can pick up, and they will help us administer grants if we can do that. They've been well worth the $68,000 we have spent on a year-to-year basis with them.
And since Mr. Diamond's not here, why don't we ask our congressional office to do this for us and save us $68,000? That's Mr. Diamond's question.
Yes, sir. We get much better service from a service that we are paying $68,000 to.
He gives a much better answer. Okay, thank you.
I also think that, you know, some of the services that are being provided to us and is, you know, advice on how to engage with Congress in addition to, you know, the various agencies that make up the administration. So there's information and advice and you know, legwork that's done for us up there that the congressional office would probably find a conflict of interest for them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We need an outside firm who's engaging with all those elements and seeking to influence them on our behalf. So, you know, there's things that they do for us that that congressional office could not do.
Mr. Davis, would you like to add to this riveting discussion?
Yes, if I could add to what Mr. Hamilton just stated, where they're most beneficial on urban development side is actually getting us meetings with Federal Highway, Federal Transit, on like our Tiger grants, our FEMA grants, and getting clarifications on some of those that would be very hard for our congressional delegation to help with, just due to the timing. But we use them routinely for that.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15AE is a resolution authorizing City Council to change the dates of the regular council meetings scheduled in November and December. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russell. I've pulled this for separate consideration simply as a means of communicating with the public that in November and December, due to the holidays, we do change the dates of council meetings, and those like Ms. Reed who like to join us regularly need to note that in November, the council meetings will be held on the first and third Thursday. That would be November 2nd and 16th, and in December, the first and third Thursday, December 7th and 21st. So we would hate to have you miss us, Ms. Reed. Any comments? All in favor indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15AL is, let me read it for you. 15AL is a request for approval to advertise and fill 2 permanent full-time positions of Attorney 3, grade 20, at a salary higher than minimum if necessary. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Riley.
Well, this is a fairly recent development here. That's come on just earlier this afternoon, and we have suddenly felt a pressing need to fill 2 additional slots in my office. So
See, you did such a good job that now you got to hire new people.
I will have to be much more vigilant in looking out for my counsel.
Farm league.
Next time.
It's a farm league now for us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Farm League.
Yes.
That's interesting. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That includes concludes our business. 16 legal department items. 16A1 is ordinance vacating 2 5-foot utility and drainage easements between lots 9 and 10, Woodmont subdivision, 3011 and 3013 Barcody Road.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Keith. Any questions, comments? All in favor, please indicate.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to item 17, non-roster communications from the public. If there is anyone who wishes to make any concluding comments, you will have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium. Give us your name and address for the record. Mr. Piff.
Sorry. Thomas Piff, 11314 Delcrest Drive, Huntsville, Alabama. An open letter to my fellow council members. First, let me assure you, those involved in Triad Properties, that what I'm about to say is not personal. Yours is a reputable company. You have come to the city with a legitimate proposal, and I believe all parties have operated in good faith. I do want to read a direct quote from a news release issued by Triad in October 1995. Triad surpasses industry standards for commercial real estate development, said William Stroud. Because of our financial backgrounds and our related real estate experience, we have the ability to identify and acquire undervalued properties and the expertise to capitalize on their latent values. End quote. That couldn't possibly be what is happening with this proposal. If I were a Triad investor, I would be very, very excited about this proposed office building, and I would consider it a superb opportunity with the very real potential of reaping significant profits. And there's nothing wrong with profits. I certainly understand that. Profits are good. I am not, however, a Triad investor. I am a servant of the citizens of Huntsville, and it is my obligation to spend the public tax dollar and use public resources as wisely as possible. These are the words of Sandra Moon to the City Council in November of 2003. That's just the first part of her letter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Piff. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Ms. Reed?
You got my name, you got my address. I would like to ask, and I did see it on the budget about the bicycle money, how much we're putting into that, and I want it said bicycle, and I'd like a copy of the budget. I was told by a lot of employees the budget is lean. It is absolutely too lean for as much money as you set up there and waste in our city. These employees need a 3% raise. Wake up. What am I going to do to wake you all up and let you work for the people and the employees? What's it going to take? I don't get it. And when I sit here and see that you're pushing, tearing this building down already, and yet there's nothing, it's not tied, you're not tied to anything, you're just doing it. You'll slip it in someday and you'll pass it, everybody will agree. Next thing you know, it'll be torn down. And it costs too much to move the employees somewhere else. We don't want to do that. You ain't got no money. Yet you borrowed $35 million when you, if I'm not mistaken, when you refinanced that school bond over there for the schools, I was told you borrowed $35 million yourself. Nobody hears about stuff like that. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe John Hamilton can correct me again. Somebody else told me about the fence over there that you had it pulled down. So all I get is what I hear. I bring it to you and hope you can do something about it. Anyway, when they're going to remark Jordan Lane, it's a mess. If y'all work with the state, you need to look into that. I don't understand sometimes how I see you all give this city away. You give it away. The condos, you build parking garages. Are you going to build merchants walk down here a parking garage? Was that in that deal tonight? Why don't you write this where somebody can tell what you're doing? I pretty much read what you're doing. But you don't load the facts out there where the public knows what you're doing. I'm going to get me a talk show called Waking Up the Dead and tell everything I think, and y'all have to get on there and correct me if I'm wrong. Because I can't got no way except speaking out news or telling you everybody what I think. But Mayor Battle, I'd back off of this property if I were you and going to stay here for a while. You're tearing up the city and everybody's fussing at me. Ain't nothing I can do. I'm trying to help you to see what the public are doing. All these young people like the drinking's going on. They like the walking and the beer and the party harding. The older people like the municipal golf course. Y'all don't care about them. Tear it down. Tear it all down. I've been here since 1958. I've been coming into this council. I'm throwed out now, so I can't go upstairs and see anybody. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. So I can't even talk to the employees, but they run me down. They find me and tell me they don't have enough equipment to do their job. They don't have enough personnel to do their jobs. Who do they tell this to that give a care? It's you all. You're up for re-election next year. I'm going to keep throwing it in your face. I love you. It's tough love. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Is there anyone else who wishes to address
Madam President?
the council? Mr. Kling.
I'd like to ask if Mr. Shane Davis either respond now or maybe research and respond to the next council meetings. I'm kind of skeptical at the beginning, but these parking garages and things that we do, access roads, we invest money into these things. Aren't we getting a payback and then profit plus on all these parking garages that we have built? And we expect to get a payback over 30 years. I mean, are we getting like the one we're doing for Twickenham Square or Parkway City?
Yes,
Or any
Councilman
of
Kling, I'm happy to provide that data. Every time we bring a development agreement before this council, one of the things that we show to you and also to the public is return on investment of the public-private partnership. Our goal is a 4 to 5 year return. Many projects that we bring you are much less than that on return investment, but I don't know in my career we've ever brought you a project to consider that did not have a return on investment.
So like after the 4 years, let's say for a 20-year life, whatever, then we can basically are making money off of that development for the 5th, 6th, on through the 20th year on. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the reason that we're able to provide a COLA and buy police cars and fire truck. You know, I've always said my 17 years, you know, the cost of running the city is more each year. If you're not growing, then we're either cutting something or we're continuing to provide services to our community, and we have to do that through growth, and that's what we're very aggressive in doing.
Okay, and one other thing, I know that there's been a lot of talk about the Holmes Avenue corridor project from UH into downtown, which includes, among other things, bicycle lanes. But where I'm looking, since a lot of times I've been talking about traffic congestion in the city, people who ride bicycles, that's one fewer road that's one few car that's on the streets, and that helps somewhat alleviate traffic congestion. So you can take physical fitness, quality of life, but at the same time, I think we can also add it helps somewhat with relieving traffic congestion, which we certainly need. In that area.
Absolutely. We're passionate as a citizenry on many fronts, but in running city government and planning for public infrastructure, we've got to represent the citizens as a whole. Yep. And greenways and bike lanes and widening roads, resurfacing roads, those are all requests that we get through your office as council members and through the master planning and through engineering department. So, we try to take care of all that we can.
Okay, I mean, I think what I was trying to say is we're not particularly trying to do anybody a favor. We're trying to look after our interest and after the community's interest when we do these things. And
Absolutely.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. Kling. Any other business to come before the council? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you all.